franchise that is the crux of why we are fans. The rich, amazing history of a team that reflects the attitude of this town's people and embodies the spirit of everyone sitting in these seats. But when we step back and look, there is one thing that from Philadelphia to Wilmington, from Haverford to Pennsauken, from Westchester to Allentown, cuts through it all and bonds us, every one of us. Every fall, it is the Eagles green that runs through the veins of the young and old, and the divides that exist between races and creeds, rich and poor, the 700 level and the lower bowl are all gone, and we are suddenly one.
And welcome to another edition of Aatbirds Fandemonium. This is episode 11. We are very glad to have Sam Stafford. A lot of you guys may know her as Sam Wilson, but she does a lot, and she's all over. It's great. Everything, hosting content for Bet Parks, Babes on Broad, Bleeding Green, SB Nation, NBC Philly with down the line with Charlie and Bo. You have a lot of stuff going on. You're everywhere, but it's a good thing. Content creating is fun, but thank you for joining us.
Thank you guys for having me. This is such a fun show idea. I love it.
Yeah, it's one of my co-hosts came up with the idea, and the way I am, he comes up with an idea. I sometimes overthink it, and I just started getting guests. We have over 20 guests already lined up to do it, and just a fun concept because what best to hear people's stories on how they became fans. And it's everyone has a different story, but again, the team bonds a lot of us for one specific thing, but we've all came to that one specific thing, different avenues. And that's what this show's about.
100%. I love that.
And I'm going to play a nice slideshow that we always play. So we'll get that going. And then I'll start with my first question here for you is your first Eagles memory that you can think of.
Oh, my first Eagles memory that I can think of. I feel like I have a terrible memory. I feel like everybody's always like, oh, in 99, like this play happened, blah, blah, blah. But I unfortunately don't have a memory like that. But my first Eagles memory would be crying while watching the 2004 Super Bowl. And I remember actually my stepdad at the time, he had a like a stuffed ref. And I remember us tearing it apart and crying after that Super Bowl loss. So, yeah, that's my first memory. I guess it's kind of extreme, especially as a little girl who's supposed to be like cute and nice, tearing apart a ref and crying at a football game. But yeah.
No, that's great. And the 04 Super Bowl is a lot of people, have the memories of the 2017 Super Bowl and that joyful, win that you had, but that we got to witness. And then you look at 04 as a lot of people, it's the first kind of, the last heartbreak of all the heartbreaks of all the NFC Championship games. And that memory is always tough because a lot of people, you look at the Patriots and say, they cheated because of with the Spygate and everything that came out. But, all that comes up. Now, again, I talked about the 2017 Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And what is your favorite Eagles memory? Now, I'm excluding with this show, we're kind of excluding the Super Bowls because that's a lot of people's favorite memory. So
yeah, 100%.
I'm going to exclude it, and you can give me one or even multiple memories that you have Eagles-wise, your favorite.
That's a tough one. There's so many. Yeah, I think it's smart to take out the Super Bowl because that's obviously going to be everybody's favorite Eagles memory. I mean, that whole year I'm going to take out, but that was pretty fun. My favorite Eagles memory. I don't know. I guess I loved the Snow Bowl, watching Shady run through that.
Mm-hmm.
That's one that stands out. I love all the excitement with the Carson Wentz originally. Obviously, it didn't pan out. But that kind of his rookie year and then obviously following in 2017, that run. Yeah, I just feel like just over the years, all the moves that have come up, I can't think of one that's standing out at the moment.
It's a
I'm
tough
sorry.
thing.
I know.
It's a tough thing because there's a lot of memories, and looking through these pictures, you can see memories on here. You have pictures. There's the parade, and there's a lot of different things. A picture with one of the best favorite
Oh,
Eagles of all
wait.
time, Brian Dawkins.
Yeah, that actually might be my see, I just needed some prompting there.
See,
There we
that's
go.
okay.
No, definitely Brian Dawkins. Meeting Brian was the coolest thing ever. I normally obviously get to meet a lot of pro athletes and famous people in my career, but when I got to meet Brian, it was one of those things we were working the NFL kickoff the year, was it the year after the Super Bowl that it was in Philadelphia?
Mhm.
So we were working that, and I knew Brian was coming, and as he was coming, it was so hot. I probably smelled, it was terrible. But as he was coming, I was just like, "Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god." And it's the first time I've ever had that because like I said, I'm around a lot of big named people, I guess. But he was the one that I was like had to compose myself. I had to ask for a picture. Normally I never do. So, which also hurts. I was trying to find pictures here and I was like, I know so many people and I have no pictures of any of them. But yeah, that was definitely the coolest moment ever. He was so nice. So it was like stupid because I shook his hand and I was like shaking, trying not to cry. And he's just like, "Hey, what's up?" And I was just like, "Yeah, hi." That's you could see my face. I was kind of like crying, trying to hold it back, but it
But
was a
no,
cool moment for sure.
you said with pictures, and it's tough. Like I've tried to look, I found certain pictures, uh, like older pictures. It's easier nowadays if you look because you have your phone and you just take pictures all the time. It's so
Yeah,
much easier than if you were to say go back 10, 15 years and try to find photos. You got to go through old photo albums I got to go through my parents' house to go look at the photo albums because I don't have any where I am, I don't have anything. So
yeah.
that's a tough part. And I've had a couple of people say it's pretty tough, but this is what I could find. And that's what we want. That's all we want. We want some of the pictures, and some of these pictures we're going to need some context. There's a lot here, but that's what we'll kind of do here, is get a little bit of some context on some of the pictures, because this one of the pictures you sent, um, and I think I'm going to go to it, see if I can fast forward. It's gonna be, and I think you may know exactly the one I'm thinking about. Just go up to it. Slide 2, right here. So I want to know a little bit about this.
I love that picture and it's so funny. So obviously that picture of Princess Diana in the Eagles jacket is famous, especially in the
Yep.
Philly world. But then that's my mom standing next to her. And I just
Wow.
love telling people that because I think it's so cool. Like my mom's actually been in magazines before of like Princess Diana spotted, obviously before she passed away. But and they looked identical. So I always put that in there with the Eagle stuff because I'm just like, it was really my mom wearing that jacket. Who knows? But I just think it's a fun story.
No, that's great. That's great. Now my next question is going to be this: your favorite Eagle and why?
It's kind of boring because I already talked about it, but Brian Dawkins. And I think it's just because I was born in 95. So I grew up in like prime Dawkins era. You know what I mean? Like the early 2000s is when I really started getting into football. And just seeing Brian Dawkins with all that passion and the way he played the game and the way he led, and like it was just a fun time to see him coming out as Weapon X out of the tunnel. And I think that really, not only was he great and fun to watch, but then just seeing all his energy and how much he loved the game as well. I think that's what helped build my fandom at that young of an age.
Yeah, and see, Dawkins is one of those players. And a lot of the younger generation, if you did not see him play, they can't really grip uh, the type of athlete and the type of player that he was.
Yeah.
And I think that's one that um, I feel bad for some of the younger generation because they don't get to see and witness the type of greatness that Brian Dawkins was. But he's a lot of people's favorite, and there's no doubt why he's people's favorite, especially now. Just look at everything that he's doing off the field. He's not even
Yeah.
playing in the NFL, and what he's doing for mental health aspect and everything is great.
I agree. And it's so crazy to even hear his stories now because at the time, you would have had no idea that he was struggling as much as he was. And it's really sad to think about, but it's just that's how passionate he was about the game and how much he covered it up. So it's awesome to hear him talk about his mental health issues now. For the other people that are younger and in the NFL now that are just realizing it's not only them, you know?
No, you're 100% right there. All right, now this one is this is one of my favorite questions. Is what is it about the Philadelphia Eagles that make them the best team slash fan base in football?
100% the passion. Like, I feel like everybody in Philadelphia, you don't have just that, oh, yeah, like, I like the birds. It's always, go birds! You know what I mean? Like, it's just comes out automatically. And you can't talk to anybody really that if they're talking about Eagles, they're talking about it with passion. You know, and I think that's why it's one of the most, we get a lot of crap for it, but it's because we say what's on our mind and we just lay it all out there. You know what I mean? And that's how football's supposed to be. It's not some classy sport like golf where we're all decked out and in polos and stuff. You know, it's supposed to be passionate. Guys are hitting each other, they're taking each other out. Like they're trying to build the passion just to get themselves to do that. Like, and I think it just Philadelphia, it's also the fact that like we're a blue collar city. So I feel like a lot of the guys in the NFL at one point of their life could relate to that. And I think that's why a lot of former players and current players really love the fan base as well, because we're them at some point in their life, you know?
Yeah, and I posted something on our Twitter page a day or two ago. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie The Field Goal Kicking, Garbage Picking Philadelphia Phenomenon. It's like a older
No.
it's an older Disney movie back in like early 2000, no, maybe late 90s basically.
Okay.
And it stars Tony Danza, and he's a garbage kicker. I don't want to give it away for the people trying to watch it. I don't want to blow it, but he's
Spoiler alert.
yeah, right. Spoiler alert. 26 years later. But he's a field goal, garbage picker, and he becomes the Eagles field goal kicker. I won't give it away how and everything, but he gives a speech, about the people out there in the stands, because they weren't playing well against Dallas. So, the people out there in the stands, and my father's out there, and he's been a fan for 50 years, and it's just, if this is what gets them through the week, this game gets them through the week, and if they lose, you can't even talk to them until Wednesday. And it's funny because you look at that, and I remember growing up, especially as a kid, and they lose, and you go to school, and you have the kids saying, "Oh, your team lost stuff," and you get that week, you're waiting for that next Sunday because you want the team to win, so you can go in wearing your Eagles jersey, sporting your team, nose up in the air and happy because your team has won. I feel like that shows what the fan base and the Eagles are all about, because one, that the fans they're smart, they know what's going on, they're not, they're not fans that are just going to, oh, it's okay. No, they want to win, but they know about the game. They know when a player is not doing well. They're going to let you know when you're not doing well, but they're also going to let you know when you're doing well and you're doing great and you're putting that effort. And I feel like a lot of people, and that's why a lot of players, and you can even attest it to, recently, and you look at a player like Malcolm Jenkins, who left, but he still does a lot of stuff in the Philadelphia area. A player like Chris Long, who only played 2 years with the Eagles, but loves the city. And you get that everywhere, and even at any sport, but the Eagles, I feel, is crucial in terms of looking at those players, and they connect with the city, and the connection is what holds holds it dear. And I feel like that's what makes the fan base so strong, and the Eagles, being a fan of the Eagles, so strong.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, look how many former Philadelphia Eagles that are not from around this area at all, that after their careers, they either come back all the time or they permanently live here. It's just, I feel like you don't see that everywhere. And it's because of the passion and because of the support that the whole city has around this team.
Yeah. And before we wrap it up, I do want to get, because I know you did some stuff with 97.5 and Trey Thomas, I believe. We've had
Trey.
We've had Trey a couple times on our show. Great guy. What was it like working with him? Is he as funny as he?
100%. Like, it's so funny just to look back at clips when I was on the show, but there's just so many of Trey just being fun, and that's exactly how he is when the cameras aren't on. You know what I mean? Like in between segments and stuff, we would all just gather in like the producer studio or the on-air studio and just hang out and talk because we were all genuinely friends. I loved the guys on that show. And Trey was always just so goofy. He was either breaking down the game, like obviously on like Mondays or Fridays going into the weekend during football season. But man, he's just so fun and funny. He has no filter, but it's hilarious. So yeah, I love Trey so much.
No, and that's great. And then my last question, I want to sneak this one in here. What would be your advice to, young girls and stuff that want to get into sports and want to get into sports broadcasting and want to get into that? What is your advice to them? Because I feel like there should be no path that is blocked for anybody.
Oh yeah, 100%. My best advice, one thing I always tell, especially to the older people, is 100% get internships and make connections. You have to, because it doesn't matter where you go to school. I mean, yeah, you'll probably get connections, but if you're not good, you're not good. So you have to get the internships, you have to get the experience, start making a name for yourself and get that film and then making connections, because that's how I did it. I knew Mike Missinelli, first ever project I did in college was to interview Mike Missinelli. He was awesome, told me I was going to be great. I had the great personality. I knew what I was talking about. I had the look. I was going to be successful. And then that was freshman year going into my last semester of college. I messaged Mike and I was like, hey, I'm about to graduate, and just kept a relationship between there. And because of Mike, I ended up at 97.5 right after college. So it's definitely get internships and get or make connections. Those are my two biggest pieces of advice. And then just for like younger girls that are like still like this is their passion, but like they just want to know what they're in for, definitely have like thick skin. Because I think that's what helped me a lot is like I know how to take it, but I also know how to throw it back at sometimes. And I just make it fun. You know what I mean? I never take anything personally because you can't, especially with social media. So like it definitely helped me. I was always that little tomboy, one of the guys. And I think that's why I was able to succeed as much, because I was able to like just joke around and throw it back and not taking it personally. So yeah, just have thick skin. You got to have a short memory. You're going to be told no a lot, but all that matters is that one yes. And that's what I've always told myself. And it's working so far. I mean, get a lot of no's,
Yeah.
but you're always getting a yes,
Exactly. And don't burn the bridges that one day you'll have to cross back over. So
100%.
like I said, appreciate you coming on. Where can everybody find you? What do you got in store? What do you got going on? So let the people know.
So I have a ton of content coming with Bet Parks. As you already said, you can find their social media at Bet Parks. It's really exciting because baseball season's here, and baseball and football are my two dominant sports. So we're at the beginning of baseball season. We'll have a lot of stuff coming out at Bet Parks. And then also my show, my podcast on Bet Parks, we have a separate page at 2 Jones Wit, and that's me and Dumpy, the tattoo guy with the fanatic on his belly button and stuff. So that's awesome. And then, yes, that's Dumpy. Everybody knows him when his shirt's off,
Yep.
So we have a podcast called 2 Jones Wit, and then I have a separate podcast, as you already mentioned, with Bleeding Green Nation and SB Nation called Babes on Broad, and that's with Jess Town, now Taylor, so Jess Taylor. But yeah, so we have that during the football season. We'll have like a pre-draft show coming up, so you can find that at Babes on Broad. And then my personals at Sam Stafford official on Instagram and at Sam Staff on Twitter. It's a lot, just all thrown in there.
No, it's great. Appreciate you coming on. And the way we always end any of our shows is with a very happy and loud "Go Birds!"
Go Birds!